Hello, welcome everybody. Here we are again to talk about ZBrush and jewelry. My name is Nacho Riesco, and I will be here streaming during the next 2 hours, sculpting this jewelry piece you already have on the screen. So welcome. Let me know if my voice sounds good, the music is not too loud, as usual. And let me check all the settings first of the streaming. Let's see if everything is working fine. Looks everything is okay. And welcome. Hey Fexter, how you doing? Welcome back. You are always here. I really appreciate it. Maybe the music, everything is perfect. Cool. Okay, so we can go ahead then. Looks like maybe the music in my side is a little bit too loud. Hey, MB24 Black, welcome. If at any point you feel the background music is very loud, just let me know, because I'm struggle as usual with the background music, so I don't know if it is too loud or not. So I'm always changing the settings. Okay, so today I'm going to follow with this design I started on my previous stream. Remember, this is a kind of pendant. This pendant, it's an original design, and of course, as almost everything is inspired by different artists and different techniques. I will show you which ones. So if I open here my PureRef, you can see this is the original design we are gonna try to replicate inside of ZBrush. As usual, I only use ZBrush for create my jewelry design, so I don't use any other CAD external software specific for jewelry modeling. So I only use ZBrush, and we are gonna try to make this from scratch, from the beginning till the end, everything with ZBrush. This design was the inspiration came to me from this illustration from the artist William Santiago. Also, I was inspired by this illustration by the art of Major Felton, and also I was gathering any other references or inspirations like this one from Nicolas Gaetano. The idea is to create a kind of a pendant. This is going to work as a pendant. So the idea is to grabbing the idea of the traditional glyptic techniques, well, where you are carving precious or semi-precious stones, or by hand. Of course, we are going to carve it with ZBrush, and after we are going to be able to print it and manufacture it if necessary. But here you have some example of very cool and very amazing glyptic art, everything related to panthers as my design, like this one or this one. So you can see the panther is going to be a kind of a stylized style, not a realistic. So we are not going to be very worried about the anatomy of the animal. So we are going to be looking for clean lines on a very soft rhythm to achieve this kind of effect. And in the background, we're gonna try to replicate a very traditional jewelry technique called guilloche. The guilloche is like creating a pattern on the background, and it can be covered with enamel, with clear enamel or with colored enamel to create this kind of effects in the background. So that's the reason why I found this kind of pattern, this pattern on the internet, and I added to my original design. So you can see the design is a mix of different inspirations. sources. And we're going to try to translate different traditional jewelry techniques into a digital piece made with ZBrush. So of course the piece is going to be 100% manufacturable, ready for manufacturing. So that means that we're gonna have control over the measurements, distances, thicknesses, on almost weight during the creation process. So we are not here just worried about how beautiful the design is. So we should be worried about it is going to be able to be manufactured in terms of 3D printing, casting, stone setting, enamel, and different traditional jewelry techniques for the manufacturing process. Okay, I will be paying as more attention as possible to the chat, so you can leave your comments. And if you want to ask anything about what I'm doing, or ask something about what I did on my previous streamings, or something about my work, here at the bottom of my camera you have access to my link tree, where you will find me on the internet. So you will find my social media addresses, so my website, my Instagram, Facebook, and so on. Okay, let's go ahead. Maybe the light is too bright. Okay, like this. And let's put this on the side. To use this anymore, so I'm gonna keep this reference. So what I did on my previous stream, I was creating the whole composition. I mean the background, the background plate and the panther and animal. I decided to change the size of the pendant. The pendant is gonna be 37 millimeter tall. So if we have this up to selected, if we go to the scale master, set the scene scale, we're gonna work in millimeters. You can see it is, the currently measurements are 37 millimeter tall by 91 millimeter wide, and it hasn't yet any thickness, because even in here you are watching thicknesses, because I am still using dynamic subdivision. You can see here it has thickness, but as I am using the dynamic subdivision, is like we are rendering the thickness. We are not creating real geometry yet. It's because at this point, when we are designing something, when we are about to translate an idea or a sketch or a design into the real world, the first step is when we are creating the digital file. We should be worried about the measurements, the distances, and the whole the design works in terms of how big it is, how heavy it's gonna be. And most of the times the design looks beautiful on the paper, but when we translate the paper to metal, when we talk about jewelry, we are gonna find a lot of problems. Well, problems, maybe we can call them challenges, where we can be taking different solutions in terms of playing with the distances or with the thicknesses, with the measurements, thinking about the different materials that we are going to use on the manufacturing process. So that's the reason why we should be fighting or struggling with how realistic is the thing that we are creating at the moment, even if we are working in a digital world. But we should be worried about the measurements, of course. So I decided to make it 37 millimeter tall. 37 millimeter tall. For that reason, most of the time I work with the caliper on my hand when I am designing, or when I am sculpting things for to be transformed into jewelry objects. So this is going to be about something like the 37 millimeter. So this is a good way to figure out or to see how big is the thing we are creating on the screen. So this is this tall. This looks very small. So in terms of, I think this could be, we talk about jewelry. We are not talking about a big piece or a small piece. We can stay in the middle. So 37 millimeter, less than 40 millimeter thing. We can be talk about a medium piece, not a very big one. So, and then at this point you can see that the panther is not, it doesn't fit the plate yet. I'm gonna make it bigger. So I have both elements organized in folders. So you click here and use transpose set with the gizmo. Of course, you are going to be able to just scale the different subtools which are inside of the, for any reason. Maybe I have, okay, I have this one masked. This is the reason why I was having problems. So this should be here. Maybe it could be something like this. Maybe I need to talk, I need to move this, make again auto groups to make a quick mask here. So I'm using, let me turn this off. I'm using different cubes. If I turn this off, you can see how it looks like. I'm using different cubes just for cutting the limits of the panther. If we compare the thickness, now the thickness of the panther with the thickness of the back plate, it looks like this is very thick. Let's see how thick it is. I turn this off. Maybe I need to select this one. I'm gonna try to match this the same level as the background, more or less. At this point, it's not going to be necessary to be very accurate because we are still in the designing process. That means that we're going to need to change a lot of things. So we are not taking final decisions yet. So this is, if we use the transpose line and we take the measurements from here to here, around, this is a approximate value that we are looking for from the back part of the relief till the highest point. I'm having here on my top left corner, I'm reading. Now here we are having 4.7 millimeter, less than half of a centimeter thing. In terms of thickness, I think it has sense. I am checking now the real measurement with the caliper. We are going to be around 5 millimeter. We can say that this could be a realistic thickness. So we can stay here, or maybe we can grab this tool with the move infinitive depth. We can push it to the left to make it not so tall, like this. And now maybe we can start maybe let's grab the H polish to start polishing this section, to try to avoid that this is very high on this point, and then we can do the same thing here. I'm having a kind of issue here on the tail. Looks like it is empty inside. I don't know why. Let me check it first. If I click on auto groups with the select rectangle, I think for any reason I don't remember that I made it follow inside. Okay, I'm gonna remove delete hidden. Now it is solid again. So maybe this is going to be like this. And now if we start thinking about the plate, maybe this, I already have here the reference image load in my grid. Remember that you can use, you go to draw, you open your different, here you can play with the 3 different axes, X, Y, and Z, front, back, up, down, or left, right. In my case, I have the front, back. and the image should be a little bit bigger, just for fitting more or less something like this. It's approximate because I was changing the proportion of the plate, so now it doesn't match the original drawing, but maybe I can decide, then maybe I can push it down a little bit. Let's repeat the same operation as before. So let's push it. Oh, maybe I already have a mask here applied. I forgot to remove the mask before I start moving anything, so we can now, maybe it's gonna be this way and this way, more or less, a little bit even more down. Maybe here I'm gonna match more or less the head. Maybe it's here is gonna be a good idea. Maybe the tail, it's going to be necessary to now to adjust a little bit the tail, and let's see how it works. Maybe here this side it's gonna be necessary to cut. This is a very great method. I love to work with live booleans. You can see how easy it is to fix things. So I don't care about this because this is going to be covered by this element, so I don't worry about this because it doesn't match now the back plate, but I think like this is gonna be okay, more or less. Okay, let's stay here. Let's save this. Let me read your comments. Well, Matt, I would like to know how to find one. Well, we'll question how to find your own style of jewelry. I think every style, it's part of different styles. I mean, as I was talking about before, when I was explaining from where came the inspiration of this design. So each person is, or each artist is having different tastes in terms of art styles, and in this case jewelry styles, and it's a matter of be comfortable with the style that you are creating. So in some cases you are comfortable with depending on the kind of style that you like. That means that you like more to create the more styles closer to the Art Nouveau or to Art Deco or more traditional styles. So, or maybe you're gonna start mixing different things together, and so making different. When you start working with different designs, or you start creating different designs, you're gonna start developing your own style, because you're gonna start creating what you like, and I think that's the idea. Because today, or maybe always, is very hard to create new styles. Each style is based on an existing style. Maybe you can modify, you can add your own purpose to a specific style, but you should respect your tastes in terms, because this is where your inspiration will come, and that you will be feeding by different styles or different artists. So you should keep you should follow that inspiration, but try to don't copy on other artist designs. So just be inspired by the work from others. I think that's the key. This is a very important thing. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna push this back. I'm gonna select this tool, push this back. Remember that this is a very powerful tool that you have here, the transpose line. Using the Alt key, grabbing this, you can start bending things. I am doing this. So you just start dragging the transpose line from this point till here, and now using the Alt key, On the internal red dot, you can start bending meshes, and then you are gonna be able to do very fast movements, and which are very useful for adjustments, for anatomy, for many different things. I'm gonna push this back. This should be, let's see how thick is this, because maybe we are using a very thin, very small with Y. From this point, let's zoom in. From the bottom till here we are having 0.6 millimeters, so this hasn't sense, so it should be much deeper. So let's open this, and I think I should close this, because here also I am using boolean. So this is the good thing about using this process that I was saying before. This is a non-destructive way of working. That means that if at any point I need to correct things, it's as easy as start moving things around. So it is not going to be necessary to start managing or transforming the polygons or start moving things around. So with very complex processes or workflows, just as easy as making things like this. So maybe we said this is going to be the bottom part. That means that we need to make this higher. If I am using the thickness at its maximum, that means I can make it thinner, but I can make it thicker. So I can apply it, the dynamic subdivision like this, and then I can make it taller like this. And now the same thing with this. Let's apply. If I turn on my transparency, if I start making things like this, should be something around here. And now here we have, from the maximum high now is 2 millimeters. Okay, it's having more sense now. 2 millimeters. Maybe it's gonna be a little bit low for the enamel, for the guilloche we were talking about, but let's stay here at this point. Let's see where we start adding the background pattern, what happens. But at this point, I think this is gonna be enough. You can see now the thicker frame we just made works better like a box. This is the kind of effect I was looking for, but maybe not so deep. Not so depth. The body, maybe it should push out a little bit the different elements of the panther. The panther is not yet finished sculpting. You can see everything is split into many different elements. This is a method that I like to use. It's working like a puzzle, when you have everything split into individual subtools where you can play with them individually, and it's very easy to adjust the locations, the sizes, when you are building your design. Because as I was saying before, this is not we are not still talking about definitive composition. We, at the same time, when we are working, we are designing, we are taking decisions during the creation process. It's going to be necessary to make a lot of changes. Hello, Madera Neumann, on Newan. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name properly. And is the material that the jewelry will made of should be a fact? Yes. Well, it's you are asking about a factor to consider in ZBrush. Of course not, in terms of inside of ZBrush. When we are working in a digital world, we are not worried about the physical material, but the thing or the design that we are creating, we should be worried about what we are doing in terms of how big it is, because how big is big, or small, that means that depending on the kind of material you're going to use on the manufacturing process, is gonna the weight is gonna be higher. It's gonna be high or not so high, or gonna be low, and the price of the metal we are gonna use. So during the designing process or the creation process, it's when we talk about jewelry, it's gonna be very important to think about the material. In this case, the metal, or most of the jewelry pieces I built are built with metal, but we're gonna use stones, precious stones, or different materials. We should be worried about the cost of its material, because we are creating a product. A product is going to be necessary to be manufactured, and then when we talk about manufacturing, we are always talking about money in terms of the cost of the different materials. And added to that, when we talk about jewelry, it's going to be very important not only the material, because the different processes involved on the manufacturing process includes a lot of pricing variations depending of the kind of material we are creating or we are using. It's going to be harder to manufacture. For example, if we are creating a piece with a lot of stones, the cost is going to be higher, because we should consider the cost of the stones, the handwork of the stone setter, and many other elements. So the answer to your question could be yes and no at the same time. No, because when we are sculpting, we are not worried about the weight of the piece, but we should consider the thickness, in this case, for example, to see how thick is going to be only this element of the design in terms of the future manufacturing process. Oh, sometimes it's hard for me to explain myself in English. I'm sorry if I'm not being very clear. Just let me know. I will try to explain you again what I want to say. But if we talk about jewelry, the materials are going to be very important, and we should keep them in mind when we are designing something. Okay, maybe the panther, it's almost done. Maybe the neck is too thick. Very clear. Okay, glad to know it, because as I said before, sometimes my English is a little bit limited for some kind of answers or comments or thoughts, but I try to do my best. Okay, so let's stay here. Maybe we can start thinking about this element. This element is going. The idea is that the main body is going to be with a kind of white metal. We can be talking about silver. Maybe it's gonna have a lower price, of course, or we can think about white gold. In this case, we can be thinking about this as a yellow gold, or gold plate silver, and gold plate another kind of metal. But then if we talk about gold today, the gold is very expensive nowadays, so maybe it's going to be a better idea to start thinking about to cast this in silver, maybe, or another kind of metal. And Daniel, welcome to the stream. Are you using the frame with? Yes, I'm just the frame with light boolean. Yeah, but I was explaining before. This is my normal method that I use. Instead of start using the C modeler or start managing the geometry, I prefer to use light booleans, because you can see if I turn this off, you can see this is the design. The design looks like this without the booleans. because I love to use light boolean because it has said before, it's a non-destructive way of working. And when we are designing, when we are creating a product, it's very important to have room to make changes or to change our mind if necessary. So at some point it's going to be necessary to make this frame thicker or thinner, and it's going to be as easy as grab the negative mesh. In this case is this one. Where's my gizmo? Here it is. If I send it to the middle, and we can make it thicker or thinner, just moving one subtool against another. So that's the reason why most of the time I use light boolean. Another key point about my way of working is I don't worry about topology, because my end product is going to be a ready for 3D printing file. So during the process, most of the time, I can say 90% of the time, I'm not worried about topology and edge flows and edge loops and such kind of 3D modeling technical aspect traditionally used on video games or animation. So I don't worry about topology. So I'm just worried about the physical, how the physical thing I'm doing looks like, and the measurements and weights when we are talking about jewelry. Webmaster, how should I determine the charge for the design based on the hours I work or the unit? Both things. Of course, the hours that you are gonna put on a design, it's gonna be very important, and that is based on your experience, because it's during your working life you're gonna be more and more faster. So at some point you're gonna spend less time making the same thing, but you should consider that the time is going to be very important in terms of making quotations for any kind of design. And the uniqueness of the design, of course, yes, because if your client is requesting to you to create something from scratch, something unique, you are not just putting time putting the necessary hours to creating what you are doing, or in this case sculpting something, but at the same time you are putting a lot of effort and a lot of time just creating the thing that you are doing, and not just creating as I did the original sketch. I made this original design, but during the creation process it's going to be necessary to take a lot of decisions, to be a lot of creative, to find solutions for things that you were not considering during the designing process or the sketching process. And both things are at the end are directly connected: the working time and the uniqueness of the design of the thing that you are doing. But for example, one practical example I can give you is, for example, one customer is requesting to you one already existing piece or one already made piece. The client is just looking for someone that wants to create something cheaper. For example, that is very sadly, it's very common in jewelry, when some customer are just requesting to use some existing pieces. At that point we are just talking about the working hours. So, but based on my personal taste, I raise the prices because I don't like to make copies from other assets, or I refuse. And this is going to be the best decision that you can take: just refuse the order. But you need to create the design at the same time that create something able for being manufactured. And this baby, and there we can be talking about the most expensive thing, where you should create from scratch something unique on something that doesn't exist. It's a hard to answer question. Okay, let's start working on this. For this, the idea for this is to try and I grabbed this idea from here. I'm gonna show you my PureBref board. I grab it from this illustration from Major Fulton. It's like a grass strands. It's like the panther is behind something that looks like grass strands. Here they are just a sketch. Maybe we can make it thinner or with a little bit more of texture of lines. I mean, with more lines, not so simple like here. But let's see what looks better. To start creating the base mesh, we can just add a cylinder. Let's append a cylinder. Let's rotate it 90 degrees this way. Let's make it bigger. Using the reference. Yeah, it's gonna be, let's make it, squeeze it, something like this. Maybe I'm gonna create a new folder. This is gonna be, for example, the grass. I'm gonna make a copy of this subtool, duplicate, because I'm gonna use the same subtool for cutting the back part, and I'm gonna use the same subtool like this for cutting the bottom right limits. So let's it should be here, negative and negative, so we can work like this, and this should be almost in the border of the frame here. Almost, I think. And this gives me another problem. That means that maybe this should be a little bit even thicker, because I need an extra thickness. Let me make this thicker, like this, because it's gonna be necessary to have a little bit of distance between the border and the grass, maybe, because if not, it is too close to the border. Maybe this way. If we talk about measurements, remember the transpose line is going to be a ruler from left to right. Here I'm having a very thin, very thin to thin from left to right. Here I'm having a distance of 0.38 millimeter, almost almost 0.4 millimeter. That means that this is very thin. That means it's telling to me that I should push this back a little bit. What I did something wrong. Okay, I was moving the wrong subtool, so that means I should push this back a little bit more, just for having a good distance. We'll talk about jewelry, a good reference, I think. Not a good distance, depending on the thing that you are doing is going to be good or not, but a good reference is half of a millimeter. Maybe we can be talking about the limits of 3D printing details or casting, able to cast or able to print details. And here I'm having half of a millimeter, so this is gonna be the right distance. Here on the screen looks a big distance, but we start checking the real units. You can see that it is very small. And now let's without the back face, can start, and we can push this out because we're gonna be worried about this limit, but we can do this in this point, so it's not going to be necessary to. I'm just following the same. Oh, I did something. I think I'm gonna undo it because I am moving freely, and I'm growing. So let's change the topology first, because this kind of topology is not good for making adjustments or making any sculpting. So series measure, give me double amount of polygons like this. It's gonna be better. Let's polish a little bit. Now let's create a mask here. Give me more polygons. Mask here, and the mask, just protecting the distance. Let's grow the mask, and now I can pull this out without being worried about the half of a millimeter we left before. Like this looks like a little bit strange. Maybe it's too high. Maybe give me more polygons to work with. Name is called. Wait a minute. How do you make your transpose line? That's thin. Are you talking about here? This millimeter show up. Yeah. You can see. Let me save this first. I will answer your question. Yes, the main usage today of the transpose line, of course, there are a lot of things to do with the transpose line, but one of the main usage for the transpose line is use it as a ruler. Let me hide this, and you should pay attention at this top left corner. I'm trying to paint something here. So when we are using the transpose line, let me check the measurements we were taking before. If we start using transpose line from left to right, and this point is going to be very important to keep the shift key pressed, just to know that we are creating a 100% straight line. So we are taking measurement from this point to this point. So we are not moving the line on the z-axis using the depth of the transpose line, because we can move the transpose line freely. So it's going to be very important to start taking straight measurement. So for that, it's going to be necessary to keep shift key pressed. And you can see now from this point, and when we talk about points, we talk about this, the middle of the circle till the middle of the circle. And we read here on my top left corner, here I was reading before, 0.40 millimeters. You're gonna see it now. Let me take it again. You can read it on my top left corner, 0.407 millimeter. Of course, to start taking measurements in millimeters, it's gonna be necessary to tell to ZBrush first in which units we are gonna work. So, and for that, you should go first to the C plugin, Scale Master, set the scene scale, and tells to ZBrush from this point we're gonna work in millimeters. Of course, you can work with centimeters or for inches or with feet. It's gonna be up to you, the measurements that you want to work with. And just the transpose line from left to right, and you're gonna read it, the result on your top left corner of your interface. The brand I don't use, the designs that I send for printing, I send them to a friend of mine who is having a wax printer. He is not using any kind of resin. He is using a wax printer for jewelry. The name of the printer is Project. I think it's the 4000. from 3D systems, or not from. No, it is not the 4,000. It is the 3.5 thousand. Will AI be able to do this job? This job, of course not. Maybe it can do this job, so you can start writing prompts and telling to to the artificial intelligence, I'm looking for a kind of pendant composed by a panther or what's blah blah blah, and then you will get your starting point. But once you have the idea, once you have the design, it's time to start working manually with ZBrush or working with your hands to start creating the. In the future, I don't know, but I think today is not gonna be possible. Maybe in the future, maybe you are gonna be able to create a percentage of the job or the whole thing. Maybe, and during the years, I think it's gonna be less and less the necessary human work. But today, most of the things are going to be necessary to be make with a human, even if the thing that we are creating, it is not a thing for being shown on the internet. So we are making this thinking about sending for manufacturing. So maybe something like this. Maybe the panther body, it should be thinner. Maybe like this. And this. Yeah, something like this. I use a lot this brush, the H polish brush. I call it the file, where we are removing material or we are sanding the surface, like this. If we want to know the amount of material we are working with from this point to this point, we can repeat the measurement. We're having here a thickness or 0.78 millimeter, almost 0.8 millimeter. We have enough material to work with. And hey Harsh, how you doing? Nacho, can you tell me how to apply satin finish in a pendant? Are you talking about rendering, or are you talking about physical piece? And are you talking about how to apply that material to a digital object, or to a real piece in gold, silver, and so on? 3D Pixel, love your sculpt. Thank you very much. Sorry, just joining. No problem. It's not too late. Really love how you blog it out. Hey, thank you very much, 3D Pixel. I'm glad you like it. So we are still working on the composition. So this design is gonna take a lot of time. I think a lot of hours, working hours, in terms of creating maybe we are creating something like this. Maybe it's not going to be necessary this. I'm going to remove this and this. Delete hidden, close holes. You can see now at this point I'm just working with just using the series measure, because at this point you can see here I'm not very worried about the details. I'm not sculpting, I'm just blocking forms, and it's like as I was saying before, like adding the necessary pieces of the puzzle of the composition. So I'm not worried about how beautiful they looks like. I'm just worried about the composition. Let's see, what is this? True. Yeah, I think that's the reason why I should. This is gonna be important. We can use the slice to remove this, delete hidden, close holes, and yeah, something. It was bothering me, this little corner. And then like this is gonna work like this. Maybe we are still having half of a millimeter till reaching the highest point, the highest frame, and we can keep sanding the surface or something like this. This is gonna be, so this is going to be applied as a different element. So at some point it's going to be necessary to start thinking about the assembling. So the panther is going to be one piece, this is going to be another piece. So the final piece is going to be necessary to be assembled from different pieces, from different elements, as I just said. So at some point it's going to be necessary to start thinking about assembling, but I am used to think during the designing process or the sculpting process. I'm thinking at the same time about the assembling process. So it's gonna be necessary. Maybe here we can make a new double. Some polish. And maybe we can start working on. I'm looking for a very realistic body. We are just creating a simplified or stylized design. Maybe we can push this. So I mean, for example, if I just for explaining something about assembling, if I make a duplicate of this piece, just for showing to you what I was talking before, this is gonna be, it's gonna has this, it's gonna looks like something like this. So it's gonna be necessary to put the panther first, then put the grass on, and then it's gonna be necessary to hide as more as necessary the join between the panther and this petal part, because the idea is the panther is not going to be metal, it's gonna be resin. Or today we have a very cool material that we can use when you can mix the resin with stone powder, and you can get very cool effects. So maybe we can apply something like this on this element, but this is going to be the thing also for the collar, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's going to be in metal to set the stones inside. So the collar is going to be something more like this. It's going to be necessary. At this point is going to be very useful, the C modeler, so we can make a Q mesh. Where are you? Q mesh to the polygroup to make it thicker, to the polygroup. Oh, not the polyloop, the polygroup all to make it. How to save? It looks like everything is having the same polygroup. Yeah. No. Why? Oh yeah, auto groups, and now. Oh, maybe I was using symmetry. Yeah, something like this. It's gonna be necessary to have a kind of recess on the surface for having the necessary space to fit the collar on top of the panther. So there is something that doesn't work here. Collar needs to be this element is just put on top. At this point, I'm not sure it's gonna has this thick or not, depending on the sizes of the stones we're gonna put on top. But as I was explaining before, it's necessary to thinking about the assembling process during the creation process. So it's gonna be, and I'm going to get ready. Your work, okay. Your work with millimeter or centimeter unit for always in millimeters. When we talk about jewelry, we always work with millimeters. Always with millimeters. Enemy sculpting, yes, thank you. So check this skill master setting and it show up millimeter. Yeah, it was showing to you before units because first you set the units first. Once you tell to ZBrush the units, so in this case millimeters, so ZBrush will show you millimeters here on your top left corner, and that is going to be very, very important. Is the head all blocked out with separate meshes? Yes, everything is blocked out. So you can see I'm gonna make a cube render, for example, like this. Ooh, here you will see it now. You can see everything, each color, it's a separate subtool. If I put it this way, you see a different color. Even this one, let me select this. If we click on auto groups, no, I think this one is the same one. Let me see. Auto groups. No, you can see they are two different meshes. If you can see how many subtools I was using for blocking. It's like making a puzzle when you are putting a lot of little pieces of clay when you are building a bigger thing, but everything is split into different parts. It's, I think, in my opinion, is faster than try to sculpt the things from one single surface, because you should be very good on sculpting, very precise, to don't spend too much time sculpting the thing that you are looking for. And with this method, it's easier to move things around, correct mistakes, fix things that you don't like, change the proportions, change sizes. I think, in my opinion, it's easier and faster at the end, faster. What's the final output expected for jewelry client? Polygon. Are you talking about Polygon? I don't care. Depending on the kind of machine that you're gonna send the file for 3D printing. But for example, just sending things with some kind of sense, that means we are not gonna send, of course, millions of polygons. But for example, for a final ready for printing piece, here you can see on my custom interface, I have these settings: 75,000, 150,000, and 250,000. Maybe most of the time I give the 205,000 polygons for medium detail pieces, and maybe for highly detailed pieces I can reach 800,000 polygons, or maybe 600,000. Always I try to stay below 1 million. You are not using the end model for animation or game, the polygon. Exactly. Seth Daniel gave you the key. The polygon or the topology doesn't matter. We are just more focused about the volumes, how the figure or the thing that you are sculpting, how it looks like in terms of composition and such another kind of aspects. So the polygons is not very important, because you know that ZBrush has this great plugin called Decimation Master. So everything, you should decimate your mesh before send for printing. So depending on the level of detail that you are about to send, and of course depending on the size of your piece, because it's not the same printing something this size for something this size. Of course you're gonna be able to see the detail much better in this size than in this size. So at the end, the polygon is not a very big critical point at the end of the process or during the process. During the process, it is important in terms of working fluently. So depending on the computer that you are working with, of course, if you are charging your model with a lot of millions of polygons, it will um, consume a lot of resources from your computer. So during the creation process, it's going to be important in terms of the capacity of the computer you are consuming during your working time. But in terms of final piece or final product, it is not going to be very important. Comments? No. Can I get your custom? Yeah, sure. And some of the buttons you have seen it before. So ZBrush has tons and tons of buttons and options. I know what you say. Now let me. I'm gonna. If I said before here my no that's I know where it is. Okay, but I'm gonna turn on my top ribbon. Okay, here now comes again. Here my at the bottom of my camera you can see my link tree. I'm gonna paste it on the chat. It's this one. This is my link tree to my website. You click on my. Let me share it first with you. Control C, there you go. And click it on my website. If you go to my website, you go to the resources section and you scroll it down till the bottom, and here you will be able to download my custom interface. So just clicking here, you will be able to download this. Also, you have more stuff here if you want to download more stuff with models, alphas, or mainly keyshot materials for jewelry rendering. Hope they will be useful for you. Okay, so we can keep working. Just for don't be stuck on just one thing, because we should be still working on the composition. Maybe we can start working on the background. I already have this made. I made it with Photoshop. As I told you before, I found this pattern on Pinterest. I think I love it, and I try to reproduce it with Photoshop, and I get this. This is the pattern that I made based on this design. I was struggling and fighting with Photoshop a little bit to try to create a seamless or tileable pattern. So if we grab this is the small one. Yes, let's create a duplicate, and now we can make whoops, something strange here on the back. If I mirror web, we'll send it to the middle to 0, and now it's ready. So make it thinner. We just need let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's push this back like this, and this is what we have. The topology is going to be good enough. I was making this topology on my previous stream, just if you are interested on how I did it. So let's group by normals, let's crease polygons, and let's see if we start subdividing. No, I need to reduce the maximal angle for the normals, and now crease polygon. Now Control D, subdivide. Maybe we can try now to make a series measure based on the same amount of polygons, keeping the groups. I want to smooth the groups and using symmetry. We can have a more dense mesh. We're gonna need now a more dense mesh just for having a good detail on the pattern. Let's push this back a little bit more. It's gonna be here. And the way to apply the pattern, it's using the surface noise. This is a part of ZBrush that I love to use. I use it very often when you need to apply textures on a surface or onto a model. You're welcome. My name is Sculpt. And you go to surface noise. The way that you have to load any image from your computer, clicking here on my bottom left corner, gonna load it. I already have alpha. I changed the color from white to black, and I want to use the mix noise, this one, and then it's time to start playing with the size. You can see it is 100% tellable. At this moment, I don't know how big it should be. In this case, as we were repeating over and over again about how important the measurements are when we talk about jewelry. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Let me put it here. So that means that the black lines are going to be raised from the surface, and I need to know how thick they are. Now if I zoom in with my transpose line, that means the deep thickness is 0.2 millimeter. So maybe I like how the pattern looks like, but it hasn't sense in terms of manufacturing. Maybe they should be, I mean, the minimum thickness could be 0.3 millimeters. So you are using a high precision 3D printer. But as I said before, a good reference is half of a millimeter. Maybe you can stay between 0.4 and 0.5 millimeter, maybe 0.4, and you are going to be able to have success on the printing, on the casting. But if you want to be sure, just try to stay closer to 0.5 millimeter. I'm not saying that today there are printers and there are people who are able to print and cast below 0.5 millimeter, but it's just a matter of many cases to try and error. So let's make it, we're on the scale, we are now 22.9, if we say 24. Not a lot of changes, let's say 30. If we use it's gonna be bigger, 50. Yeah, something not that big, maybe 45. Like this looks good. Keep in mind that we are creating an object of 37 millimeter tall. So then we are creating something like this. Something like this big. So we are watching things huge in front of us on the screen, but we are think about the real object. We're not going to be able to see those tiny little lines. Maybe like this is going to be, it's going to be okay. If we take a measurement now, here we are still having we are better than before. We are having here 0.4 millimeter, almost 0.4 millimeter. Considering that during the sculpting process, maybe we can start polishing and we can make it bigger or smaller. Maybe we can 47 to make them a little bit thicker, and it's going to be, they are going to be okay like this. Lennon 3D jewelry design. Okay, thank you so much. I'm also struggling to follow old model without creating backspace issues. What kind of issues are you having on the back face? Could you please show me the correct method for this model? And this model is going to be, it is not going to be maybe hollow inside, because as I said before, the idea for the Panther, it's gonna be, the idea is to replicate a kind of elliptic effect, so some kind of curve stone. So this is going to be printed with a resin printer, then making a mold and used resin with stone powder to mimic this kind of stone onyx effect for the Panther, and just setting a stone for the eye here. So in this design is not going to be necessary to make it hollow. I think it is not going to be necessary. Of course, we're not thinking about the backside yet, because here, how thick is this? This is let me see. Now we are having here 4 millimeter thick. 4 millimeter. Okay, maybe we can be reaching around 6 millimeter as total thickness. That means that this is not going to be flat, and this 100% flat on the back. So this could be with a little of a step, as here I'm saying something. I'm gonna try to draw what I'm saying. So it's gonna be more something like this, right? It's not going to be a back cut, so it's gonna be the backside is gonna has a recessed surface with a kind of engraving work on the back to make it more beautiful. Today I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do on the back, but you are thinking about, for example, looking for an example about how to make things hollow. The back faces always appear through the front face. I am still don't understanding you. Hey Nacho, you are late. Hey Mario, welcome. You are not late. You are at the right moment. We are still having 45 minutes ahead. It is not too late. The back face always peer through the front face. Let me translate. I'm not sure if I understand you well. And why the back faces peer through the front face. I'm assume that you are talking about the sculptural elements. So big volume, for example, we can make an example with the Panther, maybe. Hola Jaén, HC, muy agradable el proceso de construcción de esta pieza. Muchas gracias por estar aquí y gracias por tu comentario. Me alegro que te guste. For example, I was making things hollow. We can make a quick example for the Panther. If we tell to ZBrush make the Boolean folder just for the Panther. This is the Panther. How big is this? If we go to the Z plugin and we go to the scale master, now it is 31 millimeter and a half. Yeah, it's more or less this big. It's this size, much more or less, very small piece, but it could be hollow inside. Let me check first. What I do is auto groups, just for checking that there isn't any floating mess inside. Just Control Shift using the select rectangle, Shift and drag. You can see that there is something inside, so we can delete hidden and close holes, and we can send it out for hollowing. As on my previous streaming, this is the only external software that I use, different than ZBrush. It is Mesh Mixer. Probably some of you already know it. This is the software that I use for make meshes hollow inside. If I export this, export, no OBJ format, for example. This is Panther, Hollow Panther, for example. If we go now to Max Mixer, import the mesh, you just this one, and you want to make it hollow, click into edit, hollow, and let's try to hollow it out 0.8 millimeter, for example. Solid accuracy, I increase the value and the mass density, but to don't be here too much time waiting, because if you increase the accuracy and the density, it will take more time for calculation. So update the hollow, because by default the software is hollowing of 2 millimeter. You can see now the offset had been created, and now you can accept. This is my workflow, right? So I accept as it is and export it again and export it back, overwriting the previous file we just created. So would you like to replace it? Yes. Then now you can, for example, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna import Hollow Panther. What I do now is start playing with the live booleans. I split the internal cell from the external cell, or the internal object from the external object, split to parts. Always okay. Now I'm having, this is the external cell and this is the internal cell. You see it this way because the normals are flipped. You can flip it. If you don't know where this button is, it is here in the in the display properties. Here you have the flip button, so you can flip the normals. And for example, here what you can do is, what I'm gonna do to make a quick example, you can do many things now, but for example, just I'm gonna grab a mask of the back part. I'm gonna invert the mask. I'm gonna extrude these faces, and now just playing with the boolean. So this is negative, and this is, you're gonna have a piece hollow inside with 0.8 millimeter as wall thickness. This is my process. Harsh, I think he's talking about the process done with extraction, where the back surface come out in front. Maybe. With extraction. Yes, for example, maybe you can have the problems when you are, for example, you are having this. You have an external surface and you need to create an internal surface, and you need to tell to the software which is the distance between both objects, in this case 0.8 millimeter. In some cases, for example, if you are having something like this, for example, here we can have this example here, or here, for example, or here. What the software is trying to make the offset, maybe he's gonna create something like this. He's gonna try to create this kind of weird effect when you are crossing the surfaces. But the good thing about the mesh mixer, the mesh mixer removes this artifact, and the surface that gives to you is the external, so like this, and the distance is still, here is not, the drawing is not correct, but here we are having 0.8 millimeter at this point, and here we are having 0.0 millimeter at this point, and we are having 0.0 millimeter at this point. Maybe the answer is use another software. Another method that you can use inside of ZBrush without using Mesh Mixer, you should install this plugin. It is called Dynamics Utility. This plugin, and here you can see inside of this plugin, ZBrush is telling to you a value of thickness in millimeters. You can see here. So for example, if we are looking for the same thing but made with ZBrush, we can tell to ZBrush, give me a thickness of 0.8 millimeter, Okay, and now create the mesh, do the shell. You can have this problem because the error is the current subtool doesn't not have Dynamesh active. Okay, got it? So you should transform first your object into a Dynamesh, geometry, Dynamesh. At the default resolution, you can see you are losing a lot of detail. Just increase to this a little bit higher, like this. And now you can tell to ZBrush, make the shell. Using the create shell function can take some time to process on high resolution model. Saving is also recommended. Okay, you should save before start making the shell. So you want to continue? Yes. The thing that I don't like about ZBrush compared with Mixer is maybe Mixer takes a little bit less time. And this is now the object is already hollow inside, but we need the opening. Maybe we can, but you can see here if I select this, if I turn on the double, no, it is not hollow inside. Yes, yet. Let me see. No, it is still. Let me 0.8 millimeters. Do shell. What? It is already Dynamesh. Dynamesh and do shell. Yes. Now it's making the shell because now it's taking. Creating 3 minutes. If I will produce a mess. No, maybe here ZBrush is giving us problems, but most of the time it works. I don't know why it doesn't work now, but doing the shell through this plugin, you're gonna get hollow objects inside with XX. But I prefer to use Mesh Mixer. I think the internal offset shell is cleaner than the result of ZBrush. I'm glad to know that, Harsh, that it was useful for you. It's not for rendering, it's to be applied on real piece. I know it can be done in casting and polishing, but can I do it? Yeah, well, in ZBrush, you can. In ZBrush, when we talk about satin finishing, you can apply kind of noise if you want. But keep in mind that what you are creating inside of ZBrush is going to be necessary for be printed and casted, and you're going to have printing lines, imperfections during the casting process. Maybe it's not going to be as clean as you are thinking. I think the best way for getting a satin finishing is the sand blasting it with a special machine where you are applying sand very soft and very small grain sand to a surface that you have the chance to apply to get that satin effect on the metal. But you are gonna try to replicate it from ZBrush. The only thing that I can recommend you is to apply a noise to the surface. For example, the default noise that you can find inside of the like this, and with more strength, maybe smaller, something like this. Let's create a duplicate and now apply to mesh. And now you can get, for example, from a completely soft surface, if I turn off the noise, for example, if I use this material and compare with this material, it's more satinated. It's not so bright than this one. Maybe this is not very good material for the example. Maybe we can use this one and maybe this one, where you are getting a more continuous reflections. What you are having this looks like more matte, more satinated. But jewelry, maybe it's gonna be better to use the sandblasting process. Beer, shouldn't you max the zone? That's going to be a hole. You were I guess that you were talking about the hollowing. I don't know why this thing is not. I was not having success. Let me try it again. If I close holes first before making anything, let's turn this on. And now, wall thickness, dusha. No, let's see. Now it disappears. I don't know. Maybe I don't know why. What is the problem now? Let me. We are having the amount of polygon is not very high. Let me make it more. We're having the amount of polygons. Maybe we can inflate it. Control drag to reveal the dynamis, and now do the shell. Now it's having a little bit more time than before. Let's see what it does. It should work, but I don't know why. It should be, there must be something with this mesh, maybe with the size, I don't know. But looks like, no, it doesn't work. It's giving to me this, I don't know, with this. Let me check the size, scale. It already has enough size for being hollow. If I change from 0.8 to tell 1 millimeter, maybe it's easier than before. And let's see now. In the meantime, I'm gonna read your comments. I think the method you show me will work for you. I hope so. It's gonna be very useful. Also, you can use, you already know another software. It is very well known for control many printers. The name is G2Box. Maybe it does something similar to make things hollow inside. Let's see what it does. No, it's still solid. And oops, let me see, what is this? What's this? Maybe the problem is this. You can see here this little cube floating in the air. I don't know why. From where it comes, I'm gonna remove it. Let me make a mask. It is not. Come on. Auto groups. No, delete hidden. And let's see now. 0.8 millimeter. Do shell. Okay. And shell must be dynamis first. Now, let's see now. Now we are gonna have success. Continue, yes. Oh, no. The cube. I think the cube is help cube that the plugin uses to calculate the thickness, I think. But let's see. But this is one of the reasons why I prefer to use Mesh Mixer, because no, it still does. Oh yes, no, no, this is what I get. But it is almost hollow inside, but I don't know why. Maybe we can try with another tool. If I use, for example, the demo head, let's make it bigger. Now it is 1.5 millimeter. Let's make it 30 millimeters with the proportion active. 30 millimeter tall. Now make a dynamis. No, I don't want to use the subtool. I leave the default. It's giving to me a lot of polygons. Let's reduce the resolution first. Now we are still having a lot of polygons. Let's reduce the resolution. Just for don't be here waiting for the whole streaming for the shell. Now it's having less than half of a million. So now I will go here, make the shell. Yes, I want to make the shell. Is it still giving to me this error message? I don't know. I think it's gonna be necessary to check this, because this is the first time that it happens to me that this plugin doesn't work when I try to create the shell. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. So let's come back to the design. I used the shell a couple of times, but without that plugin, and you need to mask the zone that is going to be Boolean. Yeah, but this is the good thing about this plugin is that it makes all that stuff for you. So it just tells to ZBrush how thick we want to the wall thickness, and the plugin does the rest. But you can find this plugin inside of the plugins, C plugins download folder and download website. You go to ZBrush plugins. You type in this ZBrush plugins. You go here. You will find it here somewhere. I click that. There are many. Official Dynamics utility. Here it is. You can download it and install it. It is going to be very useful for many cases, the Dynamics utility plugin. It's another way to work with Dynamics. Let me check your question just in case I missed any. Mike Art is asking, can someone learn jewelry without a school? Well, I didn't go to any school. The knowledge about jewelry that I have comes from my clients, from my customers. Of course, I'm not the jeweler. I'm just part of the jewelry process. We can say I'm just a digital sculptor, so I receive commission and orders which can be sculpted with ZBrush, and they can be manufactured with 3D printed and casted with different metals. So I'm just a part of the process of the whole jewelry work, or the whole jewelry processes. But I think the jewelry knowledge is very, very deep. So it's very difficult to learn everything. Most of the time what I found is people who are specialized on a specific part of the jewelry process. Not everybody is having knowledge about everything. So when we are talking about design, we are talking about the sculpting or 3D modeling, we are talking about casting, we are talking about stone setting, we are talking about polishing and finishing, enameling. There are a lot of different tasks and works that where we talk about the jewelry industry, and it's very difficult to learn all of them. Okay, let me see. I'm not happy with the let's make this bigger. I'm not happy with the distribution of the lines, with the composition. I like more this one, where I have this line here, this line here. I want to paint here, and I have this here. I want to move it to here. And here the problem that we have here with this plugin, because we were using, it is not possible to tells to ZBrush to move the image a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the top. So you can see here we have different offsets, but nothing happens if we start managing them. So it is not possible to move this, and it is not the only way that I can do it is make it this smaller, bigger, but as we decided before, the right side is 47, that means that we are having the right thickness for the line is fixed. We can do it. The one other possible process that we can use is, for example, I'm going to insert a plane, 3D plane. Here it is. I'm going to make it smaller. Sorry, bigger. For example, like this. I'm going to hide this one. Let me push this. Let's make it bigger. Let's push it to the front. And now let's noise again. Alpha. This one from white to black. I don't want to apply any strength. I don't want to apply any basing noise. And the alpha scale should be 47, right? 47 black. Well, maybe I click cancel instead of, okay, my mistake. So alpha 47 without basing noise, without the strength. 0. Okay, now yes. So now here we can move it around. For example, it can be here. Turn this on. Maybe it is not exactly in the point because it is always projected in the place what I want. So once we have this, it's time to start subdividing the plane. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna need a lot of polygons. Maybe let's try with 1 million. And now let's convert the noise into a mask. Mask by noise. Invert the mask. Sharp the mask. Sharp many times. Click. I'm clicking many times on the button. And now we can extract. Let's wait. As we are extracting a very complex pattern, let's accept. Remove the mask. We can now polish by feature a little bit to get cleaner edges. And now we can move the pattern where we want. And this is going to be also useful because we can keep working with a non-destructive way of working. Because if maybe I can make another different folder for this. This is going to be the pattern. And let me put this inside. Let's turn this off. And now we can, I'm going to append a cube just for cutting the limits. Let's make it bigger, taller. Let's put it here. Let's control and move to make a copy. Control move, rotate it here. Control move. And now we can put this here and negative, and we can keep 45 degrees for the border with the right angle. It is cutting the frame. Why? Like this. Okay, let's move it here. Let's move it. This is what I was talking about. This process. This is the light boolean process. What you are creating, what you are designing mainly. It's non-destructive. What I did, something this so weird, but it is useful. So we can cut. And also the back, I think for the here we can have a problem when you need to cut this little raised surfaces on the back with the form of the panther. I think for the panther, but the panther is going to be necessary to create a kind of a plate and then put the panther on top. So we will think about this later, but I think will be the best choice. Let me mirror well, and this is what we have so far. Hey, Gern Blanston, thank you very much, and thanks a lot for being here. Thanks to you. Just thought that it would be really cool to add quartz on top of that whole composition. On top of, yeah, the idea here, you can see here this blue tint, Choco Bear. I wonder if it's possible. Yeah, the idea of this, I was talking about this process before, because the idea is to use this very antique and very delicate jewelry techniques called guilloche, where we have a pattern of metal like this, and you apply a clear coat of enamel. It's like a varnish or something like this. Do you understand me? So it's like a clear coat, so you can be able to see through the coating, and you are able to see the metal pattern at the bottom. You can see more examples here, and you can apply different tints to the enamel. It's not necessary to apply a clear. You can apply with red tint, with blue tint, to apply this kind of thing. And the effect that you are gonna get, it's something closer to the idea that you wrote for having a kind of crystal on the background. But for example, you can do that to apply a quartz on top on the whole composition, but maybe it could be a little bit not a little bit complicated, because maybe you are talking about to put a kind of a glass or something like this, if I understood you well, to apply here like a watch cover here on the top. But the idea is more for having different heights, from the panther to the stones, with the collar here, with this yellow gold, more raised strands of grass here. So it's like having a small box with a very small composition of different elements. So in the background, so you are gonna fill these gaps, because here we are having a kind of boxes with clear coats. This is going to be covered with clear coating, with enamel, transparent, clear, with a little bit more, I think. And then you're going to be able to see a kind of metal, because because the drawing is not very realistic, but here this is going to be with the metallic reflections here, because this is going to be metal, this is going to be enamel. This is the idea behind of this. We're having something like what I just showed you before, something like this. Come on, here, something like this, when you are able to see through the coating. This is the idea now today, or at least when I was designing this piece. During the creation process, maybe we can take a different direction depending on the whole complex we find the things for manufacturing. We can take different decision, but this is the idea that I have at this moment. That's the reason why the line should be raised from the flat surface. The only thing that I don't like too much is this is I see here the distance maybe too high, but let's see, because here, for example, I see this is the distance between the highest point till the bottom of the box, and maybe it's too high. Let's see, I don't know if we are gonna stay. I'm gonna leave it like this, and we can change the decision. That's the reason why I am still not having finish it, the panther or the different elements, because there are still a lot of things to consider and a lot of decisions to take. Once everything is working, I will start sculpting the panther, for example. Okay, we still have 15 minutes. And now let me check the measurements again. Here we are having 0.4 millimeter. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe what I can do is make a new topology. Let's see how it works. Series measure, give me the same amount, or maybe double. Keep the groups, but don't smooth the groups. Let's see, because it has very complex forms. And you can see ZBrush is slow. The progress bar here on the top is running a little bit slow. That means that it is a complex piece for the new topology. Well, looks like it's freezed. No, it's still running. Okay, Nacho 3, can I ask if you made that alpha? Yeah. I made it with Photoshop. Okay. Yeah, I have something. Could be useful. Increase and subdivide. And now we can polish them. Apply some kind of, just for getting rounded edges. Let me subdivide one more time. Some issues here, but this is because the topology we are having on the corners. Okay, maybe I'm gonna make a copy of this. When I have in this, I prefer to transform this into a dynamis. Give me 2 millions, make a dynamis. Wow. It is coming. Come on. Okay, I will ask you. Got it. Thank. Yeah, I made it with Photoshop. You were asking about this pattern. I will show you. This is the pattern that I made. I start with the original one, start drawing the lines, and with Photoshop I start making the composition with the different tiles till getting a tileable thing, or a tileable image. No. Dynamis without success. Okay. Let's don't wait more time. What I can do now, it's we can create one more thing. Could be interesting for you. For example, if you want to, for example, the idea is to make a plate. Goes like this, so that the panther has a kind of metal border. So the resin or the stone, the main body of the panther will lay on top of this profile, and for that we are going to need to match a mesh or that matches exactly the border of the panther. And there is very useful plugin for this. I can use this existing plane. I made it for create a pattern. I'm gonna remove this. It has 1 million. It's gonna be enough. I have here the panther that is the result of the Boolean folder. I'm going to move it here. And this should be one polygroup. Let me see. It is already one polygroup. Yes. And they should be merged them together. Merge down. Okay. Let's see if I turn. Okay. You can see now it's intersecting one and the other. And there is one very cool plugin. I don't know if you already know it. Its name is Intersection Masker. It is here somewhere here. And you click here. Okay, first error again. Okay, okay. Close holes. And now intersection mask. And now ZBrush will create a mask based on the intersection of both the meshes. And for the purpose that I'm looking for, is going to be very, oh my god, today that nothing it is working. Why? Okay, then I'm gonna try delete hidden. Let me check it again. Okay, here the problem I'm having is maybe the problem is because I'm using a flat a plane instead of a cube, for example. Let me split hidden and let me use a cube instead of a plane, which is a solid object. Let's insert the cube. Today is not the day for the plugins. No. Okay, let me hide this one. Let's hide this. And let's hide this. Let's squeeze it like this. And now gonna subdivide it. Divide, and divide. Ooh, 2 million. Okay, it's gonna be more than enough. So now merge down again, merge down, and now make me the intersection between the two objects. Now looks like it is working. It was my fault by using a plane instead of a solid object. Okay, it's done. You can see now it's done. We can now split them. Control Shift, split hidden, and now this is what I have. What the thing that I'm looking for is this one. Just the silhouette of the. But as I said before, I'm looking for a kind of an offset between the body of the, but not too much. A bit subtle. So we can keep in the panther as a reference. We can go to masking. And we can start growing the mask. Growing the mask, sharpening the mask. Maybe grow it one more time, sharpening the mask, sharpening the mask, and now I can extract it. Go to extract and extract. Extract, maybe it's too thick. 0.006, for example. Okay, and this maybe the offset is a lot. Let's reduce it. The opposite of grow, shrinking, sharpening. Don't forget to sharpen the mask before any extraction. Okay, sharpening the mask and extract. Now looks better. Accept. This is what we get, and this piece should be. If I turn on. I should turn this on again, turn this one, turn this on, this, no, this one, no. So we will get something. I think I'm gonna repeat it because I don't like the offset. Let's go back from history till the beginning. This, because I don't want to. I'm not going to apply any offset. Let's see how it looks like without offset, with extraction. Yeah, it looks better. Okay, so accept. Now this is gonna be the plate where the panther will lay, and it should has maybe a little bit. Oops. It's gonna be a little bit higher than the lines of the pattern, like this. This is the idea behind. Maybe it's gonna be some fixings. Maybe not a big issue, just for fixings. like this. It's just for showing the process, because as the panther is not already finished, it's not finished yet. Maybe it hasn't too much sense what I'm doing now. I'm just trying to match the existing panther, because it's gonna be necessary to be sculpted, and maybe the profile it's gonna change. But this is the idea behind what I was looking for. And now I should turn on the rest and the grass, and this has more sense. If I turn this off, this is how it looks like the real piece. So the panther will lay on top of this flat surface. It's going only necessary to apply different pins as matching points, and will be enough. So I think I made something wrong here. I don't want to see this. I want to see this. Okay. It's almost, we are almost done. Let me check your questions. Always got it. Okay. Intersection Max is a very nitpicky plugin. Yeah, it's a very good plugin. I think for me, at the first time I saw it, I thought it wasn't as useful as it is now for me, because it's the typical plugin that you think that is for nothing, or you don't find anything useful to make it with it. But it's gonna be very useful for many cases. Okay, so what I did here. Okay, I'm gonna use this method just as a reference. Okay, so we have made today more progress than I was expecting. Crease D, and I don't want to apply any thickness. It's in here having the wrong polygroups, and this should be one polygroup, just for having a smoother surface here for the coil. Okay, we have made some progress. Maybe for the strands of grass, let me say first. This is gonna be the number 2. Okay. Okay, I think it's gonna be the set towards this, and for the strands of grass, I remember you that there is a very cool way to apply many tubes at the same time, a combination of 2 different brushes. Theory measure guides, one brush. You're gonna start painting, drawing curves like this. Make it smaller. Now, using any curved brush, in this case this curved tube snap brush, you will be able to apply many different instances of different meshes at once. So you can have this, you can split mask points, and now it's time to start playing with the different heights of each one thicker, another one thinner, and so on. Okay, so let's stop here. Hope the streaming has been useful for you. I really appreciate that all of you who have been here watching my stream today. I will be streaming again next month. Thank you very much, Baxter. Yeah, it's taking shape now. There's still a lot of things to do, but I'm happy with the progress at least. But I still some elements that I don't like it very much. But okay, we should work a little bit more on many of them. But we are start having the right composition. Okay, so as I was saying before, thank you very much for having watching my stream today, and don't forget to visit the Maxon Pixelogic or ZBrush different streaming channels on YouTube, Twitch, on Facebook. Stay here watching the next artist streaming more stuff about ZBrush, making different things. And thanks a lot. And if you have any comments or questions or suggestions, just drop your comments on the comments of the video, or you can reach me on my social media. So I will be happy to help you and to answer you whatever you need. So thank you very much. Take care and bye. See you.